Hello everyone. It's time to hit the road, and today we will hit the road with New England Patriots, the team that will be selecting number 4 overall. And I think it's time to have more positive episode, which might look weird. It's like, how can it be a positive episode when we are talking about a team that went like 4-13 and is going to be selecting fourth overall? Well, just before the season, they were actually overwhelming favorites to have a number 1 seed in the draft because they should have been really bad. And let's be honest, they kind of were, but there is still a lot of positives that we will talk about. But also, yeah, don't get me wrong, there is still a lot of question marks. With no further ado, let's hit the road and start with their draft. So we start with the 3rd overall pick. I absolutely loved it. Okay, I will still say like I loved this selection much more than Jaden Daniels, number 2 overall, which doesn't really aged so well so far. But let's be fair, Drake May's situation was much worse than Jaden, and also Jaden pulled out an all-timer. Like, this was the best rookie season quarterback ever had, and like I don't think it's CJ Stroud is obviously down there, but it was exceptional, so kudos to Jaden. But let's go back to Drake. I think you got absolutely everything you could have hoped for with Drake May out of his first season. Why? Because he did not die, which was actually like real opportunity behind this atrocious O-line that they put in front of him. Also, his weapons were shit, absolute shit, and despite that, he was electrifying. He was really looking good, though. Like, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of mistakes, a lot of like bad throws, a lot of turnover worthy plays. 17 to 10 touchdown to interception doesn't even give it justice. But I think for what he had to work with, you are absolutely happy. And I think Patriots did absolutely the right thing, starting Jacoby Brissett and then going to Drake May. You just hope that the concussion he suffered, there is not going to be some like repetitive thing for him. Because one thing you have to say about him, he is one of the best running QBs out there. But at the same time, like, he's not as good controlling himself as he should be. Let's put it that way. Unfortunately, we cannot continue with praise of this draft with Jalen Polk, which was their second draft pick, and they just absolutely dropped the ball on this one. I was not a fan, as you can see by my grade. I was pretty much with the consensus of the public that this was not a good pick. There was better wide receivers that they could have taken, and Jalen Polk just was atrocious in his first year. Like, pretty much everything that could go wrong went wrong with Jalen Polk. He was not winning. His contested catches, which was one of the his main strength, and also like he just could not separate. There is pretty much nothing he's done well, and like the thing that holds at least a good backup still, well, it was his first year in otherwise anemic offense, and let's not forget that like he was definitely like late second type of a draft prospect, so it's not like he was a shit prospect that they like overdrafted. So let's hope his second year is much better, but I mean, they will, or I hope they will recruit much more needed offensive talent in terms of weaponry. And this was kind of his chance to like establish himself. Yeah, you can count on him because in the first year he had his opportunities. Now with arrival of at least one premier receiver, T. Higgins, I'm looking at you most likely. It's going to be tougher, and it might just be that he will fade out. We will see. The thing about Caden Wallace is, again, not my favorite draft, to say it lightly. And like his first year, the offensive line for the Patriots was like, there were several injuries and they were just rotating through a bunch of guys and pretty much trying to do whatever they felt like was the best combination out of the worst at any given week. And Caden Wallace got out there for something over 100 snaps and was pace poor, fortunately. And like 7 penalties on not even on slightly over 100 snaps is kind of ridiculous. Like that's crazy high number. And again, just like with Jalen Polk, this offensive line, like in front of Drake May, hopefully, is never going to be as bad as it was this first year. So this was your chance and opportunity. Obviously, with drafted players, you expect them to develop over time, especially linemen. I think for Wallace, the situation is not as bleak, but I had to lower him because, well, he was not as good of a prospect as Jalen Polk. B, he absolutely looked atrocious out there, and C, he didn't even get out there despite all the struggles they had with the offensive line. So that's why he actually gets a lowered grade for me. And with the rest of the guys, Layden Robinson, another player that got out there because of a lot of injuries, and again, like he just looked really bad. This guy played 600 snaps in front of Drake May and Jacoby Brissett, just to give you a perspective. So, yeah, good good luck. Again, just like with Caden Wallace, you hope that he develops, but will he ever get the same chance that he has had this year? When like in front of Drake May, you want to create a wall, especially when he's on a rookie deal. First of all, not to get him injured. Second of all, you will have the money. So again, will Layden Robinson ever get this good of a chance? We will see. Now I put one guy in here that actually was undrafted. That's Del Pettis. And kudos to the Patriots for finding him out, because he needed to step up with the problems that they had in secondary, especially with Jabril Peppers and his off-field issues. And Del Pettis just kind of stepped in, looked physical, looked good, and is he a star in the making? Probably not, but is he a guy that you have found and will play for you for like 3 years for super cheap and like will give his absolute best? Yeah, he looks like that type of person and that type of player. And even like one thing that's encouraging beside the really good grades is they kind of didn't hold back in terms of what they wanted of him. Like they said, well, Jabril cannot play. You will play his role. Like you will actually try to do the same thing that Jabril does. Even mixing out some linebacker snaps, and he he cherished that challenge, and he absolutely stood up to it. So kudos to Del Pettis. And it's kind of unfortunate that probably your second best draft pick is actually a guy that you did not draft and is undrafted. So you cannot really call him draft pick, but you got him from this year's draft. I leave you guys to decide what's correct naming on him. Then with Marcellus Deal, I didn't like this pick at all. He just didn't even get out there. Joe Milton, interesting one. Very, very interesting one. We'll spend some time on him because he got out there for one game 18, and he looked insane, right? But it was pretty much backups on backups, kind of glorified preseason game if you want. And the thing about him is, like, he has huge arm, like huge cannon for an arm. He's one of the most physically gifted QBs out there. But this position is not only about your physicality, and like you need to have timing, you have to have precision. And Joe Milton struggled with all of that at college. The problem for Joe Milton is, well, if he stays at Patriots and stays playing QB, I don't think there is any future for him because they have Drake May. And unless Drake May gets injured or whatever, Joe Milton won't get snaps. like maybe in preseason, okay, but that's pretty much it. So if Joe Milton stays here and continues not to want to switch position, which was suggested to him that perhaps he could be very good tight end, which I think he probably has the physicality to do that on an NFL level. I don't think there is good future for him, because one thing that you can think about with a guy of his, let's say, stature, is you maybe want to use him like Justin Fields with the Steelers, or Taysom Hill with the Saints. But the problem with that, again, here with Patriots, is you have GMaty that is really big threat with his legs. So you don't necessarily need or want to switch him up on these type of downs. So that's really not even a role that I can envision for Joe Milton to have. Like, beside perhaps tush pushes, I don't really see him getting involved in the offense unless he switches the position. And that's kind of a problem with him being drafted here. But with his performance out there is a world in which Patriots are, let's say, who wants Joe Milton? Because he showed very nice upside with that one NFL game. And there are two teams that I would actually like to draft, to trade for Joe Milton. The question is asking price. I think it's like somewhere late third, early fourth, that's something like that. And that also has a problem with it. And I will start with the problem. The problem with it is that's actually the range in which this year's QBs that are not necessarily a strong class on top, but in the middle, there's several pretty interesting prospects. So that's exactly the range that you are sending a draft pick to acquire Joe Milton that you could use on this year's QBs, which will give you one more year of their rookie deals. Still, there are two teams that I would like to trade for Joe Milton, and that's New Orleans Saints and that's Cleveland Browns. These two teams have, like, I would say, three things that should be appealing for Joe Milton and his career. There are two role models under which I can envision Joe Milton's career to be towards the best of his ability. At Saints is Taysom Hill. So I really think that his best utility is kind of that Swiss Army knife type of guy, that he is very physically gifted, can play some QB, can play some tight end. Perhaps like it's more switched towards QB rather than Taysom Hill, which is more switched to tight ends. And either you try to just carve up your role as QB, what Taysom Hill actually, like, I think Saints actually gave it like half a year of that experiment that didn't work, or you try to like replicate kind of Taysom Hill's career, and your best usage is to go to the team that will have immobile QB, where you play partially tight end, partially QB for some special designs, and that could give you really nice NFL future. Also, what Saints and Browns have in common, I think it's two franchises that should absolutely freaking push the reset button, because they are in debt. They should clear their debt over the next 2 years, and during that time I will like, let's give opportunity to some interesting players that are like more coin flippy, and Joe Milton is exactly that. Also, the offensive coaching with both Browns and Saints, with Kellen Moore and Kevin Stefanski, should be very good in utilizing Joe Milton skill set. Last thing that I think is appealing for him, and now we go to Browns, is second type of career I envision for Joe Milton is, well, I have a big arm, let's go YOLO. And who is better QB at just going YOLO, playing a kind of hero ball almost every time, than Jameis Winston, right? So I think like him at Cleveland, I would actually be really up for that. Also, Kevin Stefanski, run heavy offense, plus this deep shot, big throws. I think Joe Milton with his abilities would fit in there. So those are two teams that I think should try to trade for Joe Milton. And if I'm Patriots, unless Joe Milton wants to be something else than a QB full time, I am absolutely willing to let him go for third or fourth round pick, because his value is not going to increase over time, right? Now his value is, I would say, at his peak, because he should not get any more playing time over Drake May, and B, he will have, next offseason, he will have one less year on his rookie deal, which is kind of a big deal. So we spent a lot of time on Joe Milton, but he's a very interesting type of player that I really wanted to give you my opinion about, because I hope that this guy will be in NFL, because I think he's very interesting. Now let's go. So with draft over, let's focus on how did the players actually do in terms of groupings. We start with QBs. We already talked about Drake May. I will just spend some minutes on Jacob Brissett, probably under a minute. He did absolutely what you needed him to do. He stepped in the beginning of season, kind of shit from that offense in terms of, there was not really much of a support. He kind of kept the boat respectable on float, that like you are not like losing 50-0, or at least the offense can do something, exactly what you brought him for. Then he hand reins to Drake May, absolutely as you expected. Yeah, I think he just done his job well. Now let's go towards running backs, which is actually low-key strength of this team, and hopefully won't be next season kind of the only bright spot on the offense beside the QBs, because boy oh boy, they need some help in terms of offensive line and wide receivers. So Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson both had really good years. With Ramondre, dude, please clean up those fumbles. But the fact that they paid him decently, absolutely deservedly so. I think he is a really, really good running back. Next to him, Antonio Gibson, kind of a guy that's always been very talented, but never just really all came together. It seems like he still has it, and those together, very good duo. I mean, they will probably not be in my top half, because there's a lot of good running backs in the league, and in terms of lead back, it's not necessary that Ramondre is top 20, top 15-ish perhaps. But in terms of duo that combines and meshes very well and will be there for you, yeah, these two guys are absolutely what you're looking for. You have Ramondre for next 3 years, I think they signed him for. Let me check on this one. No, actually 4 years, 36 millions, which, truth to be told, based on where the market's moving on running backs, could be proven quite a nice value. He is going to be 30 at the end of that, and last year is kind of, you can get out of it kind of cheaply. So that, and Antonio Gibson, you have him for 2 more years, 4.5 million. So you are set in this room for next at least 2 years. Still, you can draft running back, especially in this class, because it's insanely good and deep. But you are good. You are good here. And these guys just proven it. Ramondre, just clean up the drops. Antonio, continue to emerge kind of later in your career. And Drake May will be happy, and Patriots fan, I believe you will be too. Now, let's talk about wide receivers. So, I don't see 1 here. I don't see a 2 here. I see a bunch of good players that are kind of should be your 3. I mean, I can live with the Mario Douglas being my 2, but that's it. And it was kind of really on display. Despite those players are good, they are just not demanding anything special from defense. They are not going to demand a double team. They are not going to be up there for you in a linchpin every time. They will get the bucket for you if you need it. I mean, the closest thing to it is the Mario Douglas, who has really nice steady hands, catches almost everything. So he's very, very useful, and I really like him, but still he just is not the alpha that you would like to have. Though obviously for his second year, he was really good. His trajectory is going out there. So he's probably going forward your number 2. And yeah, you could definitely live with that. Keyshawn Boutte, very nice pickup from 2024 draft. They took him in the 6th round, and again, in his 2nd season, he continues to improve. Just like Pop Douglas, nice finds. Hopefully, they will be playing at, let's say, their rightful spots in the offense, as number 3, number 4. And they could, I'm not saying they will not develop into something more. I'm saying they should not be expected to be your number 1 guys. Then you go with Kendrick Bourne, and it's like a veteran receiver that just doesn't provide that much for you. He's good, but that's enough. That's not enough, and that's it about him. Good player. Yeah, I think you understand the team. With the Mario and GMaty, there is hopefully very nice future ahead. For Kendrick Bourne, you probably expect him to be phased out from this lineup rather actually sooner than later if they will actually go and spend big in this position, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, because you have really nice emerging young wide receivers waiting for their opportunities. Behind them, Jalen Polk, we already talked about his very disappointing season. Like I said, this might have been it. GMaty really is outplaying him. Demario Douglas is better than him. They also drafted Javon Baker, who was not good, but there is another young wide receiver trying to get his spot, and that's already 2 players that I think are definitely ahead of him in the depth chart. There's Kendrick Bourne, so that makes 3 players, though I expect Kendrick Bourne to perhaps not be there even for the upcoming season. And then you definitely expect either they are making push for T. Higgins or something like that, or that McMillan is really a guy that I have in a lot of my mock drafts going here. So Jalen Polk, number 4, number 5 on the depth chart. Good luck coming back from the season, man. Kind of really fucked up for yourself. So we'll see. Obviously, he's just 23. He can turn his career around. But this is not very forgiving league, and I think if we've seen several guys like this that are drafted high and just disappear within a year or 2 because they just don't have a space, and they kind of disappointed. But let's stop with bashing Jalen Polk. Let's focus on the tight ends here. Both of them really nice years. Both of them experienced veterans that will be there for you. They have their best years probably behind them, but for what it's worth, they will really help you to achieve at least some, let's say, decent, good enough standard for this position. Austin Hooper is not under contract. Hunter Henry is. He is not cheap for his age and his position, but you know that he is a weapon, and he definitely proved it. So another position that was certainly good, but now, if we talk about wide receivers and tight ends and running backs, it was slightly below average. Definitely a little below average. About average, but there's really an absence of a top player, of real difference makers, and that I think is something that was really felt through and through, and it's kind of unique. Not that many teams actually don't have at least one guy offensively that you can really call a difference maker. So hopefully Patriots will find at least one, or hopefully 2 guys for that in the offseason, because the cast around actually is not that bad. You have young and up-and-coming players, you have some decent veterans. You just need the main characters to kind of let your star boy shine in terms of Drake May. But okay, now we said, well, this was not a great supporting cast. The problem was much bigger in terms of, was even bigger in terms of O-line. That is not true for one steady presence in Mike Onwenu, who deservedly got paid before the season started. He's by far their best offensive lineman, though his role, whether it's tackle or guard, perhaps the fact that they just, I think they pushed him to play tackle this season. Let me check on this one. Yeah, he played, oh no, they mixed it up. So there was about 2-1 guard to tackle. Last year it was the other way around. So it seems like they're really like switching his position from right guard to right tackle, not based on where he feels the best, but it's like, where is the bigger hole? Mike, we need you there. I think it has influence on his performance, and like as he had slight dip into his performance this season, still, like when you look at the cast around you, these are definitely respectable grades and respectable performance for Mike. But I hope they will settle on him at one position, give him some better cast around him, and I feel like he will become an amazing player in my rankings, because I definitely feel it's in him. Next to these guys, next to him, David Andrews as a center. I was like really high on him. I really like him, but again, health really betrayed him. Also, when he played, he did not look that good, at least up to my ranking. So I had to lower him. He's already 33, and we'll see. He probably is back, but the question is, will he be back as a starter, or like, can you even count on that with his health? One of the like big blows in terms of offensive line came with Chukwuma Okorafor, whom they got from the Steelers, and they kind of hoped and, let's say, took a pound on him, this young tackle, but he just managed to get to 12 snaps because injury finished his season. So it was also a lot about injuries in terms of this O-line. Let's move to some of the backups that were forced to play, and yeah, CDSO, like there is still some things that I saw in him like year one that keeps his grade as a good backup, but when he was out there this season, it was dreadful. Already talk about Layden Robinson, veteran Love, another like late round pick that you kind of hope that they would develop into what veteran is. Good development, but you are not hoping for them to play 800 snaps. So there was a lot of guys that are on rookie deals or just aging veterans that they just kind of thrown into the wolves, and none of them really stepped up. I mean, you can say that veteran like kind of hold his own, but 13 penalties, 5 sacks. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, guys, let's be honest. Do you even know these players? I mean, you definitely know Cole Strange, which was their plan again. Experienced player to play, whether it's guard or center. Yeah, he managed to get through 117 snaps before his injury. Demontre Jacobs, like, who the hell is Demontre Jacobs? I think you should be asking this question, because I will tell you. He is an undrafted guy that was picked up by Denver in 2023, and from practice squad got here. Again, like, nothing against you, good for you, but like this cannot be a guy that protects blind side of your future franchise QB for 867 snaps. No. You Patriots, please. I know you've tried with Caden Wallace. We told you, like pretty much every draft analyst out there said this is not a pick. It wasn't so far. Yeah. Okay, did we get through the O-line? Yeah, we get through the O-line. I mean, there's 9 guys. Some of them, because of injuries, didn't get to play snaps that you hoped for, and some of them played a ton of snaps, and you definitely hope they will never have that unless they improve significantly. It was a shit show of an online. It like if like imagine something happening to Mike Onwenu. Like I would, like the minute Mike Onwenu would go down, I would say, GMaty, I absolutely love you. You are playing well. Let's go to the bench. Like, I don't want you out there because it would be begging for injury. Now let's go to the defense with the Patriots. We start with the edge players. Here, there is one guy you should be excited about. That's Keion White. He had kind of his, let's say, breakthrough season, though the second part of it, he just kind of pumped and hit the brakes, which is unfortunate. It still was a bright spot on otherwise really not very good defensive line, especially in terms of edge group. With Anthony Jennings being kind of dependable, veteran, filling the spot, but definitely not a guy that you would hope that is starting for you. And Dietrich Weiss really slowing down. And especially in terms of run defense, he was not what he once used to be. And at this point, I don't really see them bringing him back for next season. So again, one of the groups that you will need to invest in. But with Keion White in his second season, I think he showed enough promise that he could be low-end one in the future. I don't see a superstar potential with him, but he could be low-end one or a very good 2 for you. In terms of interior, you lost your star, Christian Barmore, pretty early in the season, unfortunately, again, due to injury. He will be back, he is well paid, and he is very good, so nothing more to say that. Again, he just played 123 snaps. Devin Goodshaw, unfortunately with him, it feels like decline is kind of hitting him, or hit him slightly harder than you hoped this season, but he's still a decent enough player that you should definitely get into rotation. If he's your number 2 interior guy, I mean, you can do worse, but you can definitely do better. You kind of hope that there is some interesting young emerging player that will overcome him. And Devin Goodshaw probably spends 1 more year with the Patriots, then gets cut. Or it could be even with the season, but I do not expect him. I think Mike Vrabel will actually make a use of this guy. He is still a huge body that you need to count with, and obviously missing Christian Barmore next to him kind of affected him in a negative way, because suddenly he was needed to be much bigger presence than he usually needs to. So I would not put it behind him if his next year is kind of decent and gets back to being a good enough player that you are okay with him starting. In terms of backups, you have Jeremiah Farms, you have Daniel Ekuala. Both of them played significant amount of snaps, especially because of Barmore injury. Neither of them necessarily emerged top guys. There's interesting thing with Jeremiah, because he actually is on a very cheap deal. He signed an extension for 2 years, only 2.3 million, which he's actually an older player. He's 29, so for this price, wow, you are definitely happy to have him there, because he looked decent, and as your guy into rotation, ideally your 4th best interior piece, and probably what's ending up to happen. Yeah, you are definitely happy to have him. With Daniel, again, he kind of held his own, nothing special, but when you compare him as really backup that was forced to play more than you would hope, compare that to offensive linemen for the Patriots, you can kind of see why this defensive line was not actually abysmal, unlike the offensive one, right? Because actually these guys kind of stepped up and played their worth their weight, or even slightly above that. In terms of linebackers, once upon a time this was very strength of this team. I used to play with 3 linebackers, really kind of changing them based on what they need out of each and every one of them. But this year, neither GMaty-NFL and unfortunately neither Sione Takitaki, who again, his season was short due to injury. I mean, you can see the pattern. So again, like when I put you back into the start of this video, like the fact that Patriots were actually like respectable enough team despite like trading Matthew Judon, trading Josh Uche, and like losing Christian Barmore, losing Sione Takitaki, losing like several players that you would expect to be key and are actually one of the better players on this team due to season-ending injuries. That's where you like kind of gain optimism. Well, even in such a season, we actually like didn't look like we are not one of the 32 NFL teams, which in some years it would definitely have to happen. So that definitely goes even for like a coaching staff, though the coaching staff was fired from here. But I would say like given the circumstances, they actually did not play that poorly. Christian Ellis, obviously, there are several Ellis's brothers in the NFL. I would say probably the most notable one is Caden Ellis, but Christian Ellis definitely shows that there is something about this family that makes them really good NFL players, or at least players that you are kind of happy to have on your roster. He should, there should be a chance to bring him back on cheap, I think, because he should be an unrestricted free agent. Let me just check whether or not it's true. Yeah, restricted free agent, 26 years old, one of the undrafted guys that just claw their way out to the opportunity, and when they are out there, they just play their butt off. That's Christian Ellis for you. I do expect him to be back. GMaty-NFL, with some of the absences, you would hope that he would step up more, but I think it was like he's not a good coverage player, and he was forced to play more in coverage than you would like to have him, because you would like to have him rotated more. And unfortunately for the Patriots, other teams definitely noticed that and took advantage. Though this linebacker room is definitely far from what should be like waking you up at night and causing you trouble sleeping. In terms of safeties, and also just another guy that went down after 61 snaps was Jawan Bentley, another one of the linebackers that you hoped would be there and just wasn't. In terms of safeties, Jabril Peppers, like on the field, yeah, you are super happy to have him. Off the field, you need to clean up your mess, man. We will see when how this proceeds. From what I've read so far, he should be able to play next season and should be like cleared of the charges, and that would be amazing for Patriots because he is on an extremely team-friendly deal. His cap hit is around $7 million a year, which is insane for a player of his qualities. But we will see how his off-field issues will go. Next to him, Kyle Dagger, originally I had him as only a decent starter because I was not as high on him as I think the public is. Even before the season, I felt like he really dropped the ball even last year. And this year, his tape was just abysmal. Like, he was an active liability. He was being picked left and right. He didn't bring anything in terms of coverage. And like even in run defense, it was not like good enough for his standards and for a player that you are paying $15 million a year or even more to play for you. The reason I did not lower him is, from what I've read, he was playing through ankle injury that was like too severe that he probably should have not been on the field. So I give him the props that he was like, yeah, I'm not going to leave you out there to suffer, especially when Jabril Peppers was unable to play because of off-field issues. So it's more like on the management that they were probably kind of, I don't know if they were forcing him or if it was like really he just was kind of stubborn and didn't want to like leave the guys in the mess. But he was a liability for the Patriots, and definitely a guy that I will be watching like this next season, because he is not pulling his weight in terms of cap hits by any stretch of imagination. He needs to do much better than he did this season. In terms of what kind of young guys you have behind them, they are pretty interesting. Some we already talked about Del Pettis, an undrafted guy that was here for this season and was brought in this class. They also have Marte Mapu, whom they invested, I think it was 3rd or 4th round year before, third. And yeah, when he's out there, he definitely looks apart. I think he might be a guy that I will, when I will rewatch the tape, I might even like put him to a decent starter, because his numbers definitely suggest that. And I quite frankly did not watched too many snaps of like really focus on Marte Mapu yet. I will definitely watch much more of the tape later in the year, when I will be preparing for it will be probably third season this year, 5th overall, when we will be doing the preview for the season as it is. So this is more, I've done like a lot of review, but not necessarily for the deepest of the deepest players, and Marte Mapu could be a victim of my imprecise judgment. Next to them, Jalen Hawkins, another guy you did not necessarily expect to play as much as he did, and he is much more of a veteran for them, signed for 1 year on a cheap deal, and definitely looked the part. So another guy that might earn himself a better, bigger contract than $1 million for next season. It probably won't be here, because they are pretty set in terms of their safeties. When we look at their corners, we have to start with Christian Gonzalez, because it was a pleasure to watch Christian Gonzalez play. Finally, like his first year after was unfortunately cut short due to injury after just like 4 games. This year he was able to play, and he was a stud. He even went all pro, and absolutely justifiably so. He is with Devin Witherspoon definitely the best 2 corners from the 2023 class. And the fact that Commanders picked Emmanuel Forbes 1 spot ahead of him, who is not even already on the Commanders roster, it's just sad for Commanders, because like imagine that team if they had Christian Gonzalez. Like maybe we talk about him in the Super Bowl. Like let's say I don't think Christian Gonzalez would probably make difference in terms of would they beat Eagles, but you never know, because Gonzo is that number 1 corner that will fight your best guys, and I think he's physically gifted enough to even fight guys like AJ Brown and be successful in covering them. Next to them, you have veteran in Jonathan Jones, who is not under contract for next year, which I think that they might think about bringing him back, because like he is not what he once was, but it doesn't mean that he is not a good player. And as your number 2, I think he will do. So we will see how that saga kind of goes with him. Besides them, you have a young talent in Marcus Jones in his 3rd season, despite being already 27. Yeah, like that's a really old draft prospect that, especially because of COVID years, we've had some of these. So it's like, yeah, but, he's 26, but he will be 27 when the season starts. So on one side you say, well, this was his 3rd season. On the other, well, he is already this old. So you would hope that he would be slightly better than he is right now, but he is absolutely a good enough player for him to start in the NFL and for this Patriots. So again, the secondary kind of looks good, and we will see if they will touch it very much on it, or if they will just do, let's say, Carolina Panthers Bryce Young treatment. Well, first year we didn't put our rookie QB into the best situation, despite Drake May handling it much better than Bryce Young. Now let's make it all about that young guy and give him as much of a protection and as much of a weapons as we can. That kind of ends my talk about 2024 season in terms of the roster rundown. Now let's talk about the franchise overall, where they stand, who is their head coach, etc. So their head coach is newly Mike Vrabel. I absolutely love this hire. I think he is a Patriots guy, obviously he played there, and I think he's done a really good job with the Titans. I was really shocked that they let him go. I still don't think it was a good move, and it was just a matter of time before he gets really one of, I would say, a more interesting job, because I think Patriots' job is quite nice. We will see how you think about that in the chat, but I think it's a nice job. Like, you have money and you have your future QB. So my ranking of Mike Vrabel is A-. I think it could go to an A, but his let's say last 20 games with the Titans, it kind of went off the rails. So I just need some time to put him back on the, I would say, top 5, top 7 conversation for head coaches in the league, because I definitely think he believes that. During that span, some reports about him being too strong, or not abusive. Abusive is way too derogative, but too intimidating emerged. I just need some time before I most likely will cut that minus out. So how did 2024 season went for Patriots? Well, like I said, I think that given the circumstances and what you wanted from the season is, well, we kind of want to survive. We traded a lot of our valuable pieces, or even not that valuable guys, and we kind of are looking for a fresh start. We are getting a coach that we probably don't expect to last long, and especially we want to have our franchise guy not murdered and showing that he is what we think he is, and I think that happened. So I think this season actually went really well for the Patriots given the expectations. Obviously there are some downgrades. Well, Drake May will be compared to Jaden Daniels, and Jaden Daniels kind of went to conference championship. Also, the rest of the rookie class, Jalen Polk, Caden Wallace, I look like potential busts. So that's also the fact. And again, they've ended up 4-14. It needs to count for something that they were not good, though. You don't really expect them to be good in that year. In terms of QB, I give them 2 pluses. And like I said, this is not about ranking my QBs. Obviously, that would mean that Drake May is 6th or 7th best QB in the league, which he is not. But you get this guy after his first year on a rookie deal. That's what I mean by QB. It's how much you're paying and what you are getting out of it. So that's where I think you are absolutely with a very nice situation for the Patriots, and it might go to 3 pluses after this season. In terms of hot seat, 1 to 10, I think Mike Vrabel is absolutely 1. I think Patriots will want another Bill Belichick in terms of we want our guy to be stable there. Mike Vrabel is still young enough to have at least 10 decent years ahead of him, and I would not be shocked if he is there for a tenure. I absolutely wouldn't. In terms of finances, they are in really good situation. They have above 100 million in cap space for this season. Not really much committed in terms of longer term contracts. There's only one bad contract on this roster, which is Kyle Duggar, in my opinion. Other than that, they are absolutely smooth. They don't necessarily have like super good contracts, though I would argue Mike Onwenu contract is good, Ramondre Stevenson contract is good, Antonio Gibson contract is good. So they have some contract. Jabril Peppers contract is insane. And also in terms of rookies, I mean, you don't necessarily have like so many of them, but they found some undrafted guys that are cheap and will be cheap for a couple of years. And you also have future stars in the making, Drake May and Christian Gonzalez, on the rookie contract. So that makes this financial situation really worth 3 pluses for me. In terms of strength, I have to go for Drake May because I truly feel like this could be a top 5 QB in the league. Perhaps at the end of his rookie deal. I absolutely love his upside. He's, yeah, I am a huge Drake May fan. Let's put it this way. In terms of division, when you look at this from the Patriots' perspective, I was thinking about this more neutral, but, well, you have Bills, and Bills are insane. In what was supposed to be a rebuild year for them, they went to conference championship and were really close to beating Chiefs. But Josh Allen just has a lot of heartbreaks against Chiefs, which has to suck at this point. And in terms of Miami, like they are middle of the pack team, slightly under that. And in terms of Jets, obviously they are a bit of a mess, but there is still a lot of talent, especially in the defense. So it could have been neutral, but I mean, the Bills are just insane. And I think they could be, as of right now, like second or third favorites to win the Super Bowl, and justifiably so. So that makes this division from the point of Patriots quite hard. So with that, we are definitely like kind of done with 2024 season. We are, this is kind of my, let's say, transcending slide. You know what I mean when there is one era that's over and one era is the beginning. So this is something in between. And now let's look how I do expect this lineup to, let's say, work out after free agency, after some cuts, after the draft. I will use players that are on this roster and some spots that I think are unclear or will be, or I think that they will be filled with talent that is not on this roster. So let's start with offensive line. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I forget. There are awards to be made. I'm sorry. So we start with draft hit. It cannot be anyone else than Drake May. We already talked about this. Dude was exactly what you hoped that he would be, with such a limited weaponry and with protection that would not hold, you know what. Yeah, that really good year for Drake May. In terms of trouble under, Jalen Polk cannot separate, cannot calm down with contested catches, and also the fact that you could have had Ladd McConkey, could have had some other guys that were available, and you went for Jalen Polk. So what is there to say? Man, you fucked up. In terms of cornerstone of the franchise, obviously Drake May could have been the pick, but when you have number one corner and he is already at least in his second season, I am like, Drake May is why this house is potentially shining. Christian Gonzalez is like that concrete that you can build upon, especially this defense. Christian was amazing. I think as early as next year he can enter even the elite status because everything is there: speed, physicality, smart, talented. Ball production could be better, but yeah, maybe that's going to be there next year, and he is going to move into really talk. Well, could I be the best corner in the league? That's Christian Gonzalez for you. In terms of an unsung hero, I have to talk about Demario Douglas. This is a guy that, first of all, doesn't he look like Cam Newton? Like when I was actually revisiting this card and like redoing his stats, I'm like, did I accidentally put Cam Newton on this? Because I think he definitely looks like that. And like, please don't call me racist for it. It's like more of a hair, but even like the bone structure of his of his face. I think he looks very Cam Newton-like in his build. Though I think Cam Newton has probably bigger biceps. But yeah, I actually needed to check that. I do have a picture of Bob Douglas. For him, again, he worked up. He was not like highly drafted player. He definitely worked his way up. And what you can say about him is he catches freaking everything. Like, it's insane. Pretty much anything you throw at him, he's going to come down with. Like, he reminds me of like Adam Thielen, not necessarily a high drafted guy, not necessarily a guy that has like overwhelming speed or overwhelming like size, but he is just smart and hard. For a 6th rounder, they have found a gem there. In terms of a flop, Kyle Dagger, I know he played through his injury, but still, like, man, you are paying 16, 17 millions a year for this guy, and he was just picked left and right. So I appreciate that he was trying to be out there for his guys, but actually the younger safeties played better than him. Just give them more playing time and be out there when you need to be, take care of your body, so you are there for the seasons that will actually matter for the Patriots. So that to me is a flop. And with that, we will actually take a look at potential roster rundown. We will start with the offensive line and quarterback. So I was really struggling how I will set up this offensive line. I feel like from the start, they could settle on, okay, these 2 veterans are still under contract. They did not necessarily decline. Their seasons were cut by injuries, and we have much bigger problems in terms of the rest of the O-line than worry about these 2 positions. So maybe you just stick with these 2 guys. They are both in their last year of contracts, so you go there. Michael Vanu, I think he's better guard than he is a right tackle, so I think you slide him inside. And you try to invest heavily into both tackle positions. There are several tackles that are out there to protect GMaty. Ronnie Stanley is a guy that is mostly talked about. I think he could definitely be here, and right tackle you could figure out with draft, or you could go for some veteran there. I would not be against signing Chukwuma for a fullback, but I don't think you want him to start. I think you want a huge investment to be made here, so I do expect them to throw some money or throw top draft picks on these positions while maintaining like these veterans inside, and not necessarily like for the future, but for at least start of the season they should do. In terms of skilled positions, I think there is actually several of these guys are set. I do expect that they will give their young guys a chance to really step up and be like number 2, number 3 in Demar Douglas and Keishon Boutte, but with bringing a top wide receiver. Whether it's Ted McMillan or T. Higgins, whether it's a top draft prospect in terms of wide receiver, or top free agent or potential free agent guy in terms of already established personnel, I'm not sure. It could be both, but I think you have too much talent in Douglas and Boutte to, like, I said, their natural position, like before the 2024 was number 3, number 4. Here is like, maybe you just want them to develop and you want to give them the snaps because they kind of earned it. So definitely you don't want them to be 1 and 2, but if there is T. Higgins or Ted McMillan, I think this works. In terms of running backs, like we said, Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, you are set there. Hunter Henry, very good tight end. Yep, skilled positions, despite me bitching about them, I think it just needs an alpha and it's kind of okay. In terms of guys that will back this one, you have Jalen Polk. You might ask, where is Kendrick Bourne? Like I said, I kind of expect him to be phased out. They might even cut him because there is only 2.8 million in the dead cap. or you can pay 16 millions over the next 2 years. And I'm like, you have a lot of young talent and you are definitely investing into this position. So do you really need Kendrick Bourne? I'm not certain. So yeah, that's why he is not here. I would definitely bring Jacoby Brissett back to back up Drake May, because that worked nicely. And Sidiso and Caden Wallace as kind of hopefully developmental guard and tackle for the future, but not right now. In terms of running back, we already talked, just draft a guy in like 5th round, not heavy investment. In terms of tight end, I do expect them to bring some veteran there, though low-key, there are some interesting tight ends in this draft, so maybe they will try to like steer the pot and bring some of the upper echelon of talent in this year's draft. We will see how they approach this position. In terms of defense, defensive line, I think you have 2 guys that you are set on, which is Christian Barmore and Keon White, and you need to invest in this group. Like, you let go of Matthew Judon, and you don't necessarily have a really good tackle next to Christian Barmore. So again, whether it's through the draft or whether you try to pay some free agents, I do expect these 2 positions not be filled by guys that are already on the roster. I would not be shocked if they brought Matthew Judon back for 1 year cheap type of deal. He struggled heavily with the Falcons, but coming home might work miracles for Matthew Judon. We will see. In terms of linebackers, this is a deep group. GMaty-NFL and Warren Bentley would be my starting duo, though there's definitely going to be several packages in which there are going to be like some alternative packages where you put guys like Christian Ellis, sorry. Like I said, he has brothers. Christian Ellis out there. In terms of secondary, again, you are kind of set up. I would brought Jonathan Jones back because I think he could be swayed to be bring back for relatively cheap contract, something around 6-7 millions. And I think you want to throw big bucks for Drake May, not necessarily here. And he's kind of a good transition guy for whether you draft a guy or Marcus Jones develops even more to play opposite to Christian Gonzalez. In terms of safeties, with what you are paying to Kyle Dagger, you kind of have no chance but to start him. And Jabril Peppers is amazing. You just hope that he can play with his off-field issues. I don't necessarily have like a 6th guy that I would be like certain that is going to play a huge role in some of their special packages. Though I do like Del Pettis, so I think he could be very intriguing options, especially if Kyle Dagger looks like he did last year. Though he is much more of Jabril Peppers' replacement, so we will see if he would be able to like hold on for a different role. Christian Ellis, like I said, I definitely expect him to be back because, why we wouldn't bring quite a nice player for super cheap. In terms of interior, Devon Goodchow, you still have him under contract for, what is it? Yeah, it's 2 more years, and like cutting him now actually doesn't save you that much money. But after this season, you can cut him and save 8 million. So I do expect him to be out there, but I don't think he's going to be starting, or at least I don't expect that they will not address this position. So the Devon Goodchow is more of a rotational guy rather than almost a full-time starter. Sione Takitaki, quite a nice option you have for linebacker position. In terms of corners, you don't necessarily have depth that you would be like super happy. There are like Marcel Dial that you spent 6th round pick. He just didn't show anything. Isaiah Bolden showed some promise. They also kind of snag DJ James from Seahawks when I'm not sure if they like put him on the practice squad or just straight up released him. That was a guy that I felt like Seahawks actually gained very interesting value. Well, didn't really pan out that way from 2024 draft. So that would be rundown of this roster, how I do expect it to happen. Obviously, with free agency, with drafts, we will continuously fill this for you. And it's going to be interesting to see how much my depth chart is going to be look like compared to how the actual depth chart will look like. So we will see, if some of the moves that I predict here, or guys like not being put in somewhere else, are going to pan out. In terms of a draft, Patriots are sitting at number 4. I feel like for them it's kind of simple. They don't need a QB and they should take the best guy out there. Whether it's going to be Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan, or if Abdul Carter falls to their lap, I think they should absolutely snatch Abdul Carter. If it's Travis Hunter or Ted McMillan, I would probably go for Ted McMillan because I think as a straight up wide receiver, he is slightly better than Travis Hunter. And also I think Travis wants to play corner, preferably in the NFL. So I would go for him, a guy that you can use as your true number 1 and has that, I think he's somewhere between Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze in terms of prospect. So to give you some of the perspective that I have compared to last year exceptional top of the wide receiver draft. With Travis Hunter, I feel like he's much better to be put in the team where there is already the number 1 guy, whether it's even Giants, and he plays mainly corner. He has definitely potential to be an alpha corner. But if he wants to play both ways, I do expect it to be 100% snaps on defense and 30 to 40% snaps on offense. For that, you kind of need him to be a special player, but obviously not a player you kind of rely on down to down. So for that, I don't necessarily see him as the best fit for the Patriots. So I hope for their sake, it's either Abdul Carter or Ted McMillan that's still up there. If not, Mason Graham would definitely be an option to improve this interior of defense. But if push comes to shove, let's take Travis Hunter and have Christian Gonzalez, Travis Hunter, and why not, right? Let's imagine if they can sign T. Higgins, then suddenly Travis Hunter is exactly the prospect that I want, because then his role on the offense is exactly you have T. Higgins, then you have Bob Douglas, Keyshawn Boutte, and occasionally you have Travis Hunter in there. Yeah, in that situation, Travis Hunter is my pick for the Patriots. Obviously depends how the board falls to them. That would be everything for the Patriots. Leave me like or dislike. I think YouTube actually disallowed that, but leave me a comment. It would be very heavily appreciated. This was kind of more fun to do than, for example, the Browns episode, which was well, I don't really have a good news for you guys who are the fan of the team. Here I have some, though definitely not all sunshine and rainbows with the Patriots. See you with the next one. Till then, have a nice day. Bye bye.